Hello. I'm really wanting to talk about Northwest Talk Radio Network on this video today, but Russ, who is one of the producers at Northwest Talk Radio, who was there when the thing ended, sent me a message talking about how Dale had brought in a cart which announced the end of Northwest Talk Radio. I think I better wait until I talk to a few more people and try to figure out exactly what happened in the time I wasn't there during the week, because I'm surprised I did not know that. I wanted to talk about an incident that happened in Roseburg, Oregon many years ago, and it was one of the rare times that I was fired. I haven't been fired. I've been fired from... I'm trying to think. I've been fired, but it's very rare. And every time I've been fired, I think I've been fired 3 times. That's counting an experience with the TriMet company, which the bus company, I'll explain that one of these days. But this was so strange. And before I was able to get the story all put together, I was terminated. It's funny, I've never been given a reason for why I was fired. And that's always been a mystery to me. This wasn't bad, though, because I had just received an offer to be a news director at a radio station, and I was toying whether I wanted to stay in Roseburg or take this job in Coos Bay. So it was simple. I just moved to Coos Bay. There was in Roseburg a big warehouse. It was empty. I think it was called the Booth Warehouse or something like that. And it exploded. Now, I was on my way somewhere. I was in the car. The fire marshals coming from the other direction were both in our cars. And in Roseburg, I was very active in the community. So I think I was doing a community thing. I don't know. But I was driving, and the fire marshals were driving. And we both saw the explosion. And, I mean, it was a huge explosion. Flames went hundreds of feet in the air. The car actually bounced up in the air and came down. It shook the entire city. And it was an explosion. It wasn't just fire creeping out of the roof. And when we got there, both myself and the fire marshal, he said, this is a 4-alarm fire. We got to get assistance for this. And the Plectron is calling all the volunteers. And it was a big, big, exciting thing in the city of Roseburg. Now, as a volunteer fireman, I might add, I was not considered safe to send into a fire. I don't know if it was because I thought I was going to be injured or I would injure the other firemen. I took pictures and actually went into burning buildings and took pictures inside, which we used on the television news. So it worked out well for me. The thing that was interesting here, and I got to share one aside, it was the only time that I was in the fire department that I actually had to act as a hoseman. They were using the very big fire hose. I think it's like 5 inches. It's huge. It takes a number of people to hold it. If one person tried to hold it, he would be propelled like a jet airplane. So I'm standing at the back, and we're moving in on this fire, and it's on top of us. I mean, there's flames on top of us like that, and on both sides of us, and we're in the middle of this tunnel of fire. You have this big hose shooting all this water in the thing. It was scary. And I noticed there's something behind me, so I turned around and looked, and there's 2 elderly women with a tray of donuts, and the other one has coffee. And they said, "Would you boys like some coffee?" I said, "God, ma'am, get out of here now. This is dangerous." She said, "We're with the Salvation Army." I said, "I don't care, go." So they did leave, but I have to give kudos, is that what it is? A kudos to the Salvation Army for these ladies and their bravery. Anyway, after we all managed to get the fire out, which took forever, sitting down talking to the fire marshal, and he said, "You know what's strange about this? Did you see?" I said, "Yeah, I did. I saw it. Yeah, I mean, I saw the explosion." He said, "That explosion is impossible." I said, "Why would it be impossible?" He said, "The warehouse was empty. There were holes in the ceiling. We had inspected this some weeks before." He said, "A fire couldn't build up to explode like that. It would have vented through the roof of the building." I said, "Yeah, that's probably true." I don't know. I'm not an expert fireman, but it made sense to me. If you got a fire in there, it would come up through those holes. Because I know that when they fight a fire, they always knock a hole in the roof so the fire will vent out. He said, "Yeah." And he said, "Another thing strange. Did you notice a train moving along behind and going into the fire and pulling cars around?" I said, "I heard the train. I didn't see it." He said, "I saw it." I said, "This is all very strange." So I said, I don't know. I'm thinking about it. And I went back to the TV station the next morning. One of the newsmen, no, he wasn't a newsman. He was a salesman. Yeah, this is a salesman. Get this story straight or I'll have to do a whole video over. One of the salesmen came in and he said, "Jerry, would it be of any use to you if you had a picture of the warehouse prior to the fire?" I said, "Yeah, I think that would be useful." He said, "You know, we did a car commercial, and behind the car lot is this warehouse." I said, "Oh, cool." So he gave me the tape, and I called the fire marshal. The fire marshal came right over, and we looked at it. And the fire marshal said, "How many cars did they say were there? Train cars?" I said, "They said 12. And he said, "Yeah. How many cars do we see in this film? 1, 2, 3, 4. There were 13 cars. A mystery car that the railroad didn't tell us about. And why was that train moving around in there? Mystery to me." Anyway, the next morning, before I could get the whole story put together, I was fired. They said, "You're done. Goodbye." It didn't really bother me because I had received an offer for a job as a news director in Coos Bay. So I just moseyed back over to Coos Bay and took that job. But I've always wondered, could that 13th car have contained ammunition? I don't know. But there was something very strange about that 13th car. If you will excuse me, we're done now. I'm going to turn off the machine.